This is Experiment Island. 8 people have been sent here with only their wit and ingenuity and just one chance of escape.
For the next 5 days, these intrepid travelers will be pushed to their limits here off the west coast of Scotland. Split into 2 teams, they'll battle the elements and each other in a contest of scientific know-how and sheer ingenuity. The victors will need to be tough and smart to secure the ultimate prize, escape from Experiment Island.
For the 2 teams who just arrived, this will be the most testing time of their lives.
Getting to Experiment Island is the easy part. Escaping is a whole different ball game. Over the next 5 days, they'll compete in a series of challenges to build escape vehicles, which they'll race against each other for a ride home. Sabrina, red team. Christy, blue team. Dave, blue team. Scott, red team. Split into 2 teams, from here on, allegiance is clear. It's the Reds versus the Blues.
Oh, man.
On the blue team, Steven's a lawyer who left the rat race to restore vintage homes. Now he's a master of the toolbox. Kareem has a master's of engineering from MIT. He designed and built a solar-powered car. Christy is a science journalist with a passion for sailing and scuba diving. She has a background in earth sciences and oceanography. And Dave designs and develops eye surgery equipment. His hobbies include whitewater rafting and ocean kayaking.
We need a cheer. Cobalt assault. Cobalt assault. Cobalt assault. Cobalt assault.
Vanessa Collingridge is Experiment Island's very own science taskmaster. I hope our teams came with a little knowledge of the principles of water displacement because Vanessa intends to test them on it. And it's straight to work because right now our teams have to guess what vehicles they must design and build from the clues in their crates.
Teams, open your crates. Okay, Vanessa, what are the clues in the crates for the escape vehicles this time?
Right, they've got some sand and some cement.
Cement, okay.
We got grading.
If you mix them together, you get concrete.
They've got a gelatin mold.
They're gonna mold something out of concrete.
And they've got a canoe paddle and some tide tables.
Sounds like a boat to me.
Exactly, they're going to be making a concrete boat.
Ah, so we know it. Let's see if they can work it out.
What's powder? I like salt powder. Looks like cement. Looks like cement.
Only one person can answer for each team, so that person needs to be right, but they also need to be fast. The team to guess first will get a 1-minute advantage in the next challenge.
And we can make concrete. We can make concrete. We can make concrete.
And this is a form. We're making a concrete paddle boat. Concrete.
Run, young grasshopper.
All right, you already got it. Man with a purpose. Concrete paddle boat it is. Team Blue, huddle up.
Okay, it's no big deal. It's all right.
Congratulations. You guys got it. Excellent, excellent job. You guys are going to be building a concrete boat.
We got the 3
So
words.
you guys got the jump on the other team. You get a 1-minute advantage into the next challenge.
All right.
Here's a map and a
gosh.
compass. You're going to follow this. There's a route on there. You're going to take it to your next challenge. Go.
Yeah.
Where are we?
This is the beach. Team Red. What's the news? What happened? Talk to me.
We analyzed a little too much, and we got confused. We thought maybe sailboat, maybe cement boat, maybe rowboat.
On the red team, Scott is a father of 2 and an officer in the US Coast Guard. He's skilled in naval architecture and carpentry. Sean is trained in conflict resolution. He loves the outdoors and does just about everything from alpine skiing and fixing cars to flying planes. Sam is a trained paramedic. He's a graduate student at MIT and part of the Space Systems Lab. He nursed his Mustang back to life and loves sailing. Sabrina works in computers. When she's not developing software, she enjoys hiking and home improvement projects.
You guys have a 1-minute delay, like you know. They've already had a chance to look over the map and the route that they're going to be taking.
Where's the destination?
Right.
Did they give a destination?
There is a destination, but the directions are on the other side of the map. If they just turn it over, they'll find the route to their next challenge. This confusion is costing them the 1-minute advantage they just won.
Oh, here.
All right. From the high point just above East Beach Head, 175 yards on a bearing of 238 degrees.
1 minute behind is not bad. Don't look at this yet. Ready? 5, 4, 3, go.
Okay, what do we got? Read it.
This is all about teamwork. The teams need to follow compass bearings over the sand dunes and across the glen to their next challenge. There, they'll retrieve an important key, which could give them the upper hand.
Keep reading, let's go.
Come on.
With Sean leading the way, the red team takes full advantage of their opponent's slow start. They race past the blues, who are still looking a little confused.
Beach, head 175 yards.
Following directions, the red team climbs the high point on the east of the beach to look for the bridge. But the blue team is heading in the opposite direction. They're heading up an impassable canyon and will have to turn back if they're going to get back on track.
No, but that's not 175 yards. No.
Okay, so we gotta keep going.
What is the bridge traverse? The river? Is there a river on the map?
The Reds find the bridge spot on. They've worked hard to turn their 1-minute delay into a 60-second lead and cross the river to the challenge on the other side.
To solve this challenge, you must get the keys without touching the tube. When you've got the key, sound your air horn, and follow the map to the forge.
The keys the teams are after are at the bottom of tubes they can't touch. Attached to a cork, the keys will float to the top if the tubes are filled with water.
It's on a float, it's on a float.
Each team has a bucket, but it's full of holes, so they'll have to think fast to plug the leaks.
Getting lost has cost the blue team valuable time, and they reach the key challenge over a minute behind the Reds. If the Reds don't listen to Sabrina, they may end up in deeper water.
Plug the bottom of the bucket up with that.
Steven is quick to plug the holes in their bucket with a bag of cement from their crate, while the Reds seem to be struggling.
Okay, we're gonna be more efficient with the cups.
We're gonna be much more efficient with the cups.
Scoot.
Go.
Steven's cement-plugged bucket is definitely doing the job and puts the Blues back in front.
Grab it. Go. It's working pretty good.
If you say so, Sam, but it does seem to be leaking and there's still a way to go. Thanks to some quick thinking, Christy nabs the key for the Blues first and sounds their air horn to signal victory.
You got it. Cool. This bucket had holes too, right?
Yeah, I saw them go up the whole hill with it leaking and then...
It doesn't matter.
All right, let's keep going.
So, a bad sense of direction certainly didn't stop the Blues from winning this one, giving them an advantage in the next challenge. Now they'll use the key to get first dibs in the forge on the other side of the island. Here, Vanessa has planted some special tools and equipment that could help the teams build their concrete boats.
I've put some hidden treasures in here, like this electric drill and these 2 cement mixers. But this useful stuff is hidden amongst lots of junk. Only one member from each team is allowed to go into the forge for just 1 minute to find and bring out 3 items.
Team Blue, you got the forge key first, you get to go in first. You have 60 seconds to go in there, 3 items, you gotta bring them out on time. Time starts when you turn the key.
The pressure's on for Dave, the mechanical engineer from the blue team.
Dave, how you doing?
And he heads straight for one of those cement mixers.
Hello, Dave, over.
Things are okay, over.
See anything you fancy?
Choice number 2, an electric drill. But Dave stopped using his radio, so his teammates outside have no idea what items he's getting. If Dave takes both cement mixers, the red team could be in trouble. But instead, he goes for a wooden spool.
Okay, I got 3 items. I think they're good. I'm gonna come out.
Excellent.
Well, Dave thinks he's done a good job, but leaving with 20 seconds to spare, do his teammates agree?
Okay.
What do we get here?
Looks like some sort of mixer, cake mixer.
One heck of a cake mixer here.
Is that a crucible?
And the largest
Steve got his drill.
spool of twine ever, and we've got a power drill. Bring this back.
Good job.
Now it's time for Team Red to do the switcheroo. It's time for them to raid the forge.
All right.
All right, Sean.
Yeah.
Sean, you know the rules, right? You know your time starts as soon as you turn that key. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Are you ready?
Sean takes on the forge for the red team and spots the second cement mixer straight away.
Okay, another cement mixer. I see. Hang on. I see chain.
Like the cement mixer.
You go for the cement mixer and then look for the tools, over.
Yeah. It is an electric powered cement mixer. I don't see a source of power. Over.
Sean grabs a battery, but that's not going to be any use.
Starting to get time, so let's...
Okay, you've got a second, third item in mind.
The horn signals that there are 10 seconds left. Sean just has time to grab the electric drill, but if the clock runs out before he gets outside, the red team will lose everything.
Jeremiah, let's go. Right in the nick of time, my friend. All right, what kind of goodies did you get?
Well, we got a cement mixer.
It's
electric powered. I'm not sure what the voltage is, but I've got a 12-volt battery.
All right.
And
the power drill. You guys got really, really great tools. Congratulations. What we're going to do now, we're going to seal the forge for good.
So, at the end of a very busy day one, both teams head to camp, which will be their home while on Experiment Island. Today was about team building. Tomorrow is all about boat building, when their challenge to design and build a concrete boat begins. After raiding the forge, each team has a cement mixer and electric drill to help them. But on the blue team, Kareem's not sure about Dave's third item.
What the hell is this tool for?
Whatever this thing is, I just grabbed it. I got the biggest thing I could buy.
Let's hope the teams are in such good spirits after a cold, wet night under canvas. Tomorrow, the real work begins. Will the teams be able to build concrete boats that float? Welcome back to Experiment Island. It's day 2, and our teams have 4 days to build concrete racing boats. They just spent their first night at camp, and it's time to rise and shine, campers, because they've got a busy day ahead. As the teams discover, life on Experiment Island is no summer camp. In the summer, the days are long and the nights are short, with just 5 hours of darkness a night. Getting your beauty sleep can be difficult.
Hey, good morning. Look how bright it is.
Over with the Reds, Sam's having a little bit of trouble waking up. And if conditions weren't harsh enough, the closest thing these guys have to running water is the stream running past the camp, and they have to share that with local wildlife. Despite all this, Sean seems to be quite at home.
Beautiful day.
But if he doesn't get a move on, he'll be left home alone.
Wait for me!
Okay, you guys know that you have to build a concrete boat. First place to start is building the hull. Vanessa is here to tell you what else your boat has to do.
First up, your boat has got to be human-powered. Secondly, it's got to be a paddle boat. They've also got to carry just 2 people.
All right, it's time to split up, check out what kind of gear we have, and get dirty. All right, guys, good luck. All right.
While the teams check out the materials, the key principle they need to understand is water displacement. To make a concrete boat, the teams must make a plywood mould in the shape of their hull and line it with chicken wire to create a form that can then be covered with the concrete. The shape and dimensions will be key to getting the concrete to float. While the teams work out their design concepts, I'm going to show Stephen how all this works.
Okay, Vanessa, cement is heavier than water. How the heck are we going to make a boat that floats out of it?
Okay, well, it's simple. Archimedes' principle of displacement. Sounds complicated, but actually it's very, very simple. Here's a block of concrete. If I pop this into the water, what happens? It sinks.
Gone.
Sinks like a stone. Using exactly the same amount of concrete, I've reshaped it into a boat. Now, as I lower this into the water, it pushes the water aside. And when it reaches the moment that it's pushed aside sufficient water to equal its own weight, then it'll float.
So we have a top view.
Now it's up to the teams to work out how they're going to accomplish this. If they're on the wrong track and they need help, or they finish last, they'll get an escape penalty. And that's a 10-second delay at the start of the final race.
I talked about I figured out a way that I could make ribs out of the plywood.
Ribs
for the boat to give it more stability and also to support the bars that are going to go across.
We're going to have 3 angle irons across here, right?
Or wood.
Or wood.
Plywood on top.
And
on the red team, the guys are planning a very ambitious design with 2 connected hulls. Over with the blues, Kareem's not sure about how to shape the hull so it displaces enough water.
The only complication we have here is this how to make the shape.
I think
Do you agree that
that's the whole thing?
Sam has spent the last hour crunching numbers to make sure their boat will float, but Sean is having doubts about their elaborate design.
I'm just trying to focus on one thing that's going to make us win the race, efficiency.
Sam wants the red team to construct a catamaran, connecting the two hulls in the middle. But Sean's realised that if they want to finish before the blue team, building two hulls isn't a good idea. Sean would rather they build a single hull, which will be easier to construct and will have better water displacement. But it's causing tension in the team.
This morning you thought this was the most efficient design, and now you've switched to this efficient design. Is it
The
why?
thing is, when we went to the pontoon idea, we stopped talking about efficiency.
Back with the blue team, Dave's now doubting their shape.
What's the concern?
The concern is that it's a very odd-shaped hull. It's a very tall hull.
So
It's taller than it is. It's almost as tall as it is wide.
Does that matter?
Yes, it does. If the sides are too high and the bottom too narrow, the boat will be heavy and unstable. If it's not wide enough to displace the weight, the only place they'll be heading for is the seabed. They should build a wider hull, which will have better water displacement and stability.
Tell me about the dynamics of the blue team.
Dave is definitely taking the lead on the blue team. You know, they're all pulling together and working as a team, but mainly taking direction from Dave, who's the man with the math.
I'm really worried about their design. It seems way too narrow to have any kind of stability.
If they carry on with this design, they'll never keep their heads above water. And if they don't realise this soon, I'll have to put the brakes on and give them a nudge in the right direction. But it'll cost them a 10-second escape penalty.
0.425 meters.
Red team are doing loads of math, and they have two very different and complicated designs. What do you think, Vanessa?
I think there's a bit of a leadership battle going on in the red team right now between Sean and Sam, both of whom seem to think that their idea is the better one.
I just hate to switch designs midstream because we've gotten this far.
We all know that our displacement efficiency is worse with two hulls than one. And I think we can do it with one hull.
All right,
Let's build a single hull.
let's build a single hole.
All right.
I gotta do more math. I don't want to do more math.
So, after switching design, the Reds can finally get to work. And Vanessa's got some bad news for the Blues.
Well, I absolutely love your design. It looks great on paper. Just one problem. It's not going to work.
why?
Basic problem is your boat is too narrow. So I want you to think about making a wider boat, think about stability,
Right.
but in the meantime, I'm afraid we've had to give you an escape penalty of 10 seconds.
The first escape penalty, and it goes to the blue team, which means they have a 10-second delay in the race to escape from Experiment Island.
So the boat right now is this wide, right? And she said it should be wider. Do you want to just double the width?
Both teams have their work cut out as they race to build their molds and form their concrete hulls.
Keep up the intensity. Keep up the intensity. We can do this. We can do this.
But they'll have to get a move on because the tide has turned and the sun is setting. Soon they'll be knee-deep in water and in the dark.
Need wire.
Once the teams have built their mold, they must line it with the chicken wire, which will form the skeleton of their concrete boats.
That works well.
Small bucket. Empty up a small bucket. We'll do the ratios into this bucket.
This framework will form the hull of their boats when covered with concrete. That's if they can get the consistency right.
It doesn't take much water at all.
No, it doesn't.
Thanks to the cement mixers the team's got in the forge, mixing the concrete is the easy part. But it looks like the red team have added too much water because their concrete is sliding off the mold.
You want more thick stuff?
I think we need more dry. We can absolutely dry.
That's gotta be the craziest thing I've ever done.
Oh no, I'm sure you've done crazier.
Making a concrete boat sounds crazy enough to me, and if things weren't tough enough, the rain's coming. And high up in the Hebrides, when it rains, it pours. With those clouds looming over the mountains, it looks as if the teams are in for a good soaking this evening. So as conditions worsen for both teams, the race is on to complete their concrete hulls. Only when their boats need no more work and are ready to set can they sound their air horn. The first to finish wins the challenge, and for the losers, a 10-second escape penalty.
All right, this magnificent bucket represents the last of the cement.
Over on the red team, the rain is making their already wet cement even sloppier. Although it's sliding down their mold, Sean wants to blow the horn, but Sam's not quite ready. We ready?
Get
the horn.
Hang on.
Get the horn on standby, okay?
Oh my gosh, that's already set up.
All right, grab some of that thick stuff and throw it right along the top here.
Is this it? Can we go?
Yeah, go for it. Go.
The Blues are finished and sound the horn to win the challenge. The red team are left with their first 10-second escape penalty.
We were so close. We should have. Well, I mean, a lot of could have, should have. We weren't fast. We caught up with them, and we tied at the same time. We were done the same time they were done.
There we go. Being, it would have floated 20 minutes ago.
Look at this boat. A work of genius. Congratulations. How do you guys feel? Wet.
Wet.
Victorious! Victorious!
The blue team have finished first and leveled the scores at the end of day 2. And with 8 hours until their concrete boats are fully set, it's back to the tents to assess the competition.
It's interesting that we can actually compete on a level with an aerospace engineer and a naval architect.
And a rocket scientist.
Yeah.
See, theirs looks like it's like a saucer, like it might slip around. I don't know. We'll see how it performs in water, but
Sean's leaning over the mold and he's looking into the boat. And he goes, oh, we use so much less concrete than they did. And how does he know what's in our boat anyway? You know, has he been coming over and looking to see how much concrete we've been using?
It's not over yet. Tomorrow is the big test. Will their concrete boats have set? And more importantly, will they float?
Welcome back to Escape from Experiment Island, where our two teams have to build escape vehicles to race against each other to get off the island. So far, they built the hulls of their concrete boats under extreme conditions. But the big question is, will they float?
Back at camp, the teams prepare to answer that very question, because first task this morning is the launch. Although Scott is in the Coast Guard and used to working with boats, even he found yesterday's challenge difficult.
That was amazing, trying to, doing a concrete boat in one day on a beach with the limited amount of tools we had. Not really any power tools to speak of, and no tape measure. You don't realize how much you need a tape measure till you don't have one.
Yeah, I think we're a bit heartbroken because we didn't get to build the hot rod that we wanted to, and that was the toughest thing to overcome.
We were still deciding on the design when we were getting ready to lay the mesh down. We were still like
some details.
Yeah, some details.
No, wait, no, that's not. No, do it this way.
It all comes down to see whose boat floats this morning.
We'll get ours to float.
Whether you have to hold it or not.
Whether or not you have to hold it up.
Hook or crook.
The moment of truth has arrived. Both boats look okay on land, but the test is in the water. If they sink, they'll get a 10-second escape penalty, and they'll have to build a whole new hull.
Oh, no, well, it's a little crumbly, but it's solid.
I think it's solid.
Yeah.
First up, the red team, and the Blues are giving their full support.
I wish them the best of luck. I hope they fail. you see the cracks.
That corner.
We have two right here. We have one here,
Pinhole.
and one here.
Woo, okay.
That's a high water line. Wow.
A successful launch for the red team. 600 pounds of concrete, and they got it to float. Will the blue team's larger and wider hull perform as well?
Looks heavy.
I don't care about this floaty, all right?
Go a little bit deeper in the water.
Success for both teams means the score remains the same. With one escape penalty each, they're level on the starting line.
Well done, teams. It's on to the next challenge, which is to retrieve a vital piece of equipment that will help you power your boats in that final race. But that piece of equipment is at the bottom of a lock. Vanessa, how are these guys going to do this?
Okay, well, your next challenge is to build an air pump. On the board nearest me are the materials to make a piston-type air pump. On the board further away, the materials to build a bellows air pump. Now, you've got to make your air pumps powerful enough to raise up an inner tube from 4 feet down.
Team Blue, you guys finish the boat first. You guys get to go shopping first. You get first choice of materials down there. Team Red, you get what they don't want. Team Blue, have at it.
So, to get the piece of equipment they need to power their concrete boats, the teams must build an air pump to retrieve it from the bottom of a loch. The piston design will pump a large volume of air into the inner tube in a slow, steady stream, while the bellows style will allow the team to pump air in short, sharp jets.
Which one are we doing, guys?
Piston.
Piston side pump. All right, great idea. Red, did you hear what they're getting?
Yep.
All right. Good luck.
All right.
The Blues chose the piston design, leaving the Reds with the bellows. Now it's over to the workshops where each team has all the tools they need and just 2 hours to build their air pumps. Later, their designs will be put to the test in a race at the lock.
So there's a hole, and then we'll cover with a flap, a one-way valve.
But first, it's back to the drawing board to work out how to turn a drain pipe and a hot water bottle into working pumps.
So our teams are busy in the workshops working on the pumps. What's the key element that's going to get those pumps to work?
OK, well, the important thing with an air pump is not moving air from one place to another. It's keeping it there. And for that, you need something called a one-way valve. Think of it a bit like a door that only opens in one direction. Take a look at this. See what happens when I blow?
The flap comes up and air passes through.
That's right. That's when I blow in that direction. But when I suck...
flap closes, air can't get through.
Exactly. So this will allow our teams to inflate their inner tube, raise up the thing at the bottom of the loch, and hopefully the air won't leak out.
Let's hope our teams get it.
All right. So the raise is 3, which is about how much? 24,
76.
That's about 80. Let's say about 80 pounds.
The blue team is constructing a piston with 2 one-way valves. One valve will open on the upstroke to allow the piston tube to fill with air. Then close on the downstroke, pushing the air through the piston and out of the second valve, inflating the inner tube. The Reds design is based on bellows, so their valve will have to open to suck air in through the top, then close to push air out through a tyre valve into the inner tube.
The seal between the rubber on the red team's pump needs to be airtight. If it's not, the only thing they'll raise at the lock will be a few eyebrows. Over in the blue workshop, Steven spots a potential problem with the piston.
I think it's too tall.
That might be... Yeah.
I don't know. Actually, I don't know about that.
Back in the red workshop, Sam is having trouble gluing 2 pieces of rubber together.
All right, this isn't working. I don't think I have a big enough. I don't think I know.
From that look, Sabrina's not too sure either.
Doesn't need much. Doesn't need much. Okay, take that and then.
Perfect. Perfect. Great idea.
Work it, baby. Hang on.
So the teams are in the workshops building their pumps. How's it getting on?
Well, once again, it's both Sean and Sam who seem to be taking control of the design and the build.
A how-to video on, well, remember, we're binding the glue, so we've got to make sure it's tight now.
They seem to be pretty happy with the bellows-type pump.
But there seems to be a problem with it, though?
Yeah, where they've made a seal out of 2 pieces of rubber, it's currently letting air out, and they're going to have to work that out if they want to inflate their inner tube first. The blue team used the full length of their pipe, which meant that they'd have to have been about 10 foot tall to actually use the piston.
You're sure about that now?
And they're really going to have to resolve that if they're going to make the whole thing work.
Yeah, I think by cutting the tube, we might have reduced the volume, but it's going to be much more manageable.
A lot more manageable. So this valve, pumping air that way, and then you need the air pressure to push this back out.
So the blue team have their valve ready, and it just needs to be secured with some strong epoxy resin.
We put it in backwards.
You did?
Gluing the valve in backwards is a problem for the blues, while the reds are tightening their final bolts.
Good for now.
Good.
And with just a few minutes left to finish, the blues valve is stuck halfway down the piston tube.
This side, this side.
That is perfect. That's great. That's great. That looks great, guys.
All right. We've got a pump.
All right, here we go.
All right, we're good, guys. Cool. Right on.
Both pumps may be completed, but it's not over yet. Now it's off to the lock to see which team's pump works best.
All right, teams. The 2 air pumps you've built are ready for their big test. To do that, we're off to the lock where you're going to find 2 tubes sticking out of the water. That hose leads to tire inner tubes, which will raise the vital piece of equipment from the bottom of the lock. Are you guys ready?
Yeah! 2 teams, 2 pumps. There can be only one winner, so who's going to rise to the challenge?
Welcome back to Escape from Experiment Island. The story so far is Team Blue has won every challenge to date, but Team Red is never that far behind. Team Blue was first in the boat build, so they got choice of air pump design. They chose piston-type design, leaving Red the bellows. Here at the lock, we'll see if they made the right choice or not.
This was fun.
teams are here to raise bicycles from the bottom of the lock using the air pumps they've designed. Any part of the bikes can be used to make the propulsion system for their concrete boats.
Pumping, I see bubbles.
They can only pull their bikes toward land once their inner tube breaks the surface of the water. Then it's up to them how hard they tug away. And although the Blues came up first, the Reds aren't far behind. The first to shore wins the challenge.
There's Jake. Go, come on, there's Yankee. On the edge. Get ready on the edge. Get ready on the edge. Go, go, go. Come on. Ready with the air horn. Go, go, go. Go the horn.
I think just capped that like all at once.
Look, did you see that? They just yanked the thing in. I never even saw it break the surface.
Team Red prevails. Great job, guys. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Smaller pump wins, proving definitively that size does not matter, ladies and gentlemen. You guys escaped from a penalty, giving it to Team Blue. Good job, guys.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
The first win for the red team, giving the Blues another escape penalty, leaving them 10 seconds behind on the starting line. With tomorrow's challenge still to come, it's not over yet. But for now, the red team is enjoying their first win.
Good day today. Wow.
Yeah.
Well done.
That energy, raising the bike.
Yeah, that was good.
I really, really liked our pump. Our pump worked awesome. It was the best pump.
It was far and away the best pump.
It was excellent.
Unfortunately, I was a little too conservative on being careful pulling back the tube.
Oh well, we all were.
agreed
I mean,
that
that was
it was a
the
concern.
plan. They changed very quickly. They changed their plan when they saw that we were beating them, and we weren't dynamic enough to handle it.
With one more day before the big race, the Blues still have time to level the scores. The pressure will be on to finish first in tomorrow's final challenge.
Okay, teams, time is of the essence. Get on in here. Come on, Red. Blue, don't lag behind. Get up here. Good. So your next challenge to help you escape from Experiment Island is to build a propulsion unit for your cement boats from the bikes you raised from the lock. Vanessa is here with the details.
Your designs have to fit securely to the boats. They've got to be human-powered, and most importantly, they've got to work under race conditions, because at the end of the day, you both want to win.
The first team to finish their propulsion unit avoids an escape penalty. So speed is really crucial here. But be warned, if it doesn't work when you fit it to your boat, you will get an escape penalty.
Now it's into the workshops, where each team has a bike, some plywood, and an axle to build a propulsion system that will power their concrete boat. But the pressure's on for the blue team, who are trailing 2 escape penalties to 1. If they can finish first, the score will be tied.
We stick it off the back, we put a crossbeam here, which might be wood or something.
Yeah.
So some sort of crossbeam here.
But we're not going that fast that I'm not sure if it's gonna even, we're going very slowly, so I don't know.
Your foot's gonna be
Hello, Red Team.
Hey, hello.
Tell me about your design. How's it coming along?
Well, we're in our early stages of the concept, but we're getting there. We're gonna essentially create a recumbent-style pedaling mechanism.
How deep are you going to go into the water with your paddles?
We're thinking we don't want to go very much farther than 4 or 5 inches into the water. What we want to do is make sure when we're paddling, we're pushing water astern so that we're providing forward force of the boat. We don't want to be pushing too much water down or too much water back up. And that just would require more energy, and we don't want to waste any.
Okay, well, you got some good thoughts. I'll let you get on with it. Good luck.
Thanks. Okay.
The key to getting the most speed for the least amount of energy is the depth of the paddles in the water. And Scott's right. If they're too deep, the driver will waste energy pushing down and pulling up on the water instead of pushing against it to propel the boat forwards.
Time to get to work, and both teams need to get the most from their pedal-powered paddles, since winning in the final race tomorrow depends on it.
I just think the issue is how much of the paddle is actually dipping into the water. That's
Well, Sabrina's got the right idea.
how hard.
You can raise the whole paddle wheel.
Over in the blue workshop, there's a lot of conversation going on.
1/4 of a mile an hour.
Hold on a second. We've now just wasted almost 15 minutes just trying to figure out how big the vein is. We need to move along.
Well, it's very important. It is important. It is.
While Steven's patience is being tested, Sam's working out how the pedals will fit in the red team's boat.
How does that feel? Turn this 180 degrees around. Turn it around 180 degrees.
If Chrissy is up way in the bow of the boat, I think we can afford to move that forward a little bit further.
Let's keep working on the general design and we'll
You guys
figure
work on
out
it.
what we're... You're with us.
I am, so chill out. Okay.
guys are way too tense. I'm just gonna say it.
Yeah, let's just relax for a minute.
Would you
Take a
quit
break.
telling me to freaking relax? Look, I'm sorry. The one thing that's my pet peeve is when people tell me to chill out because it does the exact opposite.
I think we're a long way from finishing, and I think we're probably about 2 hours halfway through.
I know. As long as we're working as fast as we can and we're accomplishing things, that's all we can do, right?
Sam's not the only one eager to step up the pace.
I'm cutting.
Hold on.
I'm cutting.
No.
Steven?
Steven,
just relax. All right, well,
just a minute. Just give me a minute, okay?
With the Reds working together like a well-oiled machine, their paddles are starting to take shape. As Steven reaches the end of his rope in the blue workshop, they have a lot of catching up to do.
Don't do that, man. Why?
That's okay.
This'll work.
Differences aside, the Blues step it up a gear and their paddles begin to come together.
Both teams are opting for a recumbent-style propulsion system. The blue team are constructing their propulsion system as one complete unit. This will keep the stresses and strains when paddling within the frame, so they don't transfer to the concrete hull. The Reds are constructing their propulsion unit so it can be attached to the boat in several parts. This means they can adjust the height of their paddle wheels, which could give them an advantage.
Only when the teams have finished constructing all the parts of their propulsion system can they sound the air horn to win this challenge. The blue team think they're almost done, but they haven't even attached their paddle wheels yet.
What?
Are we ready to blow the horn? We're done.
What?
As it all falls apart for the Blues, Sabrina dives for the air horn.
Are we ready? Do we need anything?
I think we're ready. Okay, blow the horn. I think we're ready.
Sorry.
A second win and a burst eardrum for the Reds. And a third escape penalty for the Blues.
Is that a real blow?
Well done, Team Red. Give yourselves a hand. Great job. It looks fantastic. And you avoided the other escape penalty, giving you a 3-1 lead.
With the 22nd lead in tomorrow's big race, the red team definitely have the upper hand. Now all that's left for the teams to do is to mount their propulsion systems to the hull of their concrete boats and get ready for tomorrow's big race.
Yeah! There we go. Give some of that.
Back at camp, the teams reflect on the 4th day on Experiment Island.
Good day.
Good day today, Will.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah, there've been some highs and there've been some lows.
Yeah.
There's definitely 250, 360 degrees shift in feelings for me today.
You know, it's amazing that we communicate pretty effectively despite the fact that we have known or worked together for very long.
I would be supremely confident if we were racing anybody else except for these guys. I mean, we might be able to look at the boat and say that ours is better, but we're speaking from layman's knowledge. They've got a naval architect on their team. They might know something about that boat that we don't.
Tomorrow's the big showdown, a head-to-head race for the ticket home. But only one team can escape from Experiment Island.
Welcome back to Experiment Island. It's day 5, and today is the day our teams finally raced their escape vehicles in an attempt to get off the island. They better pray, because those things are made out of sand, cement, and chicken wire. No wonder these guys' nerves are on edge.
Both teams make their last-minute adjustments in preparation for the battle of the paddle boats. The Reds' design allows them to adjust the depth of their paddles in the water. This could give them the edge over the Blues.
Yeah, let's slide this over.
All right.
Here we go, guys.
The teams must race their concrete boats from the shore to the pontoon moored 100 yards out to sea. The first team to plant their flag on the pontoon and set off the flare to signal the rescue craft win the race and a ride out of here.
Excited. This is it. This is what we've been working for all week. Gonna do the red team proud.
Yeah, if we start to get done, we'll take a bath.
Sean is taking preparation for the race seriously, although the Blues don't look that impressed.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Can I get it? Ooh. All right. Good luck, guys.
Yes, the moment of truth is here, and I really have to think that I'm with Team Blue. I like the overall concept. I'm a little concerned about how they've connected the paddle boat assembly to the boat itself, but I really like their concrete boat design, and I really think that they're going to pull it through in the end.
Well, I think I'm going to go the opposite way, actually, because although I do prefer the design of Blue's boat, I think the key is how well the rig is attached to the actual boat. So I think I'm going to go with the Reds, even though I have slight concerns about the stability. I think their centre of gravity is way too high. But that said, I think the key is going to be those stresses and strains at the start of the race.
So with the Blues trailing 3 escape penalties to 1, the Reds have a 20-second head start. Okay, on the blue team, Stephen will provide the pedal power with Christy steering up front. And Sean provides the muscle for the red team, while Scott concentrates on bailing water to keep them afloat. Their teammates will be cheering them on from the finish line.
Red team, on my mark. 3, 2, 1, go!
And they're off. The wheels may be in motion, but they're hardly burning rubber.
Yeah, Red!
Look at this Zen.
And Team Blue, this is your 20-second escape penalty. You can go!
Let's hope the blue team can fire it up, or this could take some time. These concrete boats aren't built for comfort, and definitely not speed. I can barely see your boat right now. Scott is just levitating with these 2 giant earmuffs on either side.
It's like this high above the water.
The Blues look like they're taking a detour. They don't seem to be able to go in a straight line.
They're just going in circles. What's happening?
And once again, Steven's patience is being pushed to the limit.
What we do, we are turning. It doesn't make any sense.
Oh, don't watch.
Over this way! You're going this way!
I have absolutely no idea.
Oh,
I think they're going to mainland.
In the drink.
They're going to mainland.
It makes no sense. This is absolutely preposterous.
As Steven and Christy go nowhere fast, Sean and Scott are barely staying afloat.
Oh, keep it level!
So fine. Come on, just hang in there. Just hang in there.
Keep it level!
Come on. Woo! Keep it nice and steady.
The Reds are approaching the finish line and still bailing out fast. The Blues are finally heading in the right direction, but it's too little, too late. The Reds cruise home for an easy victory.
Flag. One flag. Grab the flag. Grab the flag.
Celebrations for the red team, but over in the blue boat, Steven is taking the loss hard.
What happened? I don't know what happened with the steering.
I don't know. Steven, what do you think happened?
Well, I think it was because our drive shaft was almost in the direct center of the boat, so any lateral movement by Christy or myself was going to start a spin, and then it was just accelerated by the paddle wheels.
So we needed a rudder.
We needed a rudder.
Yeah.
Red team, well done. Congratulations. Congratulations. You have signaled the rescue craft and it's on its way, but there's one final challenge. You guys have to blow up.
Oh, no.
Blue team's boat. Yeah! As a team, get on there on the count of 3.
Oh, I can't.
1, 2, 3.
Excellent job, guys. Now, it's off to the rescue craft so you can leave Experiment Island in style. Both teams had the wit and ingenuity to take on Experiment Island, but only one team sailed their crazy boat to victory. Join us again for another amazing escape from Experiment Island.